everyone. Welcome to Grace Everyday, a podcast for Christian wives of blue-collar guys to help them get healthier and happier. Today, we are going to dig into one of the most challenging skills, learning to say no, and learning to say no without guilt or a feeling of resentment or a lot of drama. It's one of the things that I hear a lot of women struggle with is learning to say no. So we're going to dig into that a little bit. Before we go there, though, let's talk about the three possible scenarios or the three possible outcomes when someone asks you to take on a project or ask you to volunteer, or somebody comes to you and wants something. And there are going to be times when it's just an automatic yes, like you just know right off the top of your head, yes, this is absolutely in alignment with what I want to do, how I want to spend my time. And that's an easy decision, right? When someone comes to you with an ask and you're able, willing, and interested and want to say yes. But most of the time, real life situations are not that clear cut. So a couple of key things on that. Number one, if it is a yes, or if you think it is going to be a yes, of course, these situations are easier to handle. Someone comes to you and it is an alignment and you know it's an alignment, and yes. I don't have to tell you how to say yes to someone, but I do want to point out something critical here. If you say yes, then you need to stick to it. And that's why it's so important to only make commitments that you know 100% certain that you are able to keep. And that is critical. Because if we make a commitment and we say yes to something and we don't keep that commitment, we are losing integrity. And that's very important with other people, but this is also especially important with ourselves. So very, very important, very critical that we just in life in general learn to take commitments, don't take commitments lightly, and learn to take them and make them with the seriousness that they deserve. You know, Matthew 5:37 points out, let your yes be yes and your no be no. And when we remember the context of this, Jesus was teaching about the misuse of an oath and reminding us that our character should be trustworthy enough that when we say yes, we mean it. You shouldn't have to swear an oath to someone when you make a commitment. You should just be able to say yes, and they should be able to depend on you and take you for your word. We shouldn't have to swear or take an oath to mean what we say. We should just mean what we say. Now, there, again, enough about yes, because those situations are usually pretty easy. The second scenario let's look at is if you're not sure. Someone comes to you with an ask, a project, wants you to volunteer, wants you to serve on a board, or just wants you to commit to a dinner out, and you're not sure. You're not sure, or maybe you think you need to take some time. Depending on the size of the commitment, it's well worth praying about and just making sure that that's in alignment with what God has. Sometimes we're just not sure, right? A lot of times it's a clear-cut yes, but more often we aren't quite sure. And sometimes when we're not quite sure, we commit too quickly and then later regret making that commitment. So very important here, when we are not sure, if it's not an immediate yes, then ask for some time. Ask for some time. It's okay to say, hey, can I get back to you tomorrow with an answer? Let me consider what other projects are going on. Or I need to pray about this, or I need to talk to my husband before I can commit. I'll let you know by Friday, right? It's okay to ask for some time, and just make sure that when you say, hey, I'll get back to you by Friday, that you do follow up and let the person know, even sooner if possible. Now, let me just say here, if you already know that it's not going to be a yes, then say that. Don't ask for more time if you don't need more time. It's much kinder to be upfront instead of keeping someone hanging unnecessarily. So just keep that in mind. Now, the third scenario, of course, is that someone comes to you with an ask or a project or something, and it's a no right away. Before you answer, ask yourself if this is in alignment with your values, with your vision for yourself, for your time and energy. And if it doesn't align with both of those, then it is probably better if you decline that opportunity. A couple of signs that the request or the situation is not in alignment with your values or your vision. You dread it. First and foremost, if you have a feeling of dread when you think about this project or this commitment and you don't look forward to it, you wish you had not agreed to it, that's a sign that you're not in alignment, that you're not in harmony right there. Number two, you avoid the person that you made the commitment to. If you're having to dodge the person that you made the commitment to, that's a red flag that you probably shouldn't have gotten yourself in that situation. Number three, you find yourself wanting to make excuses to get out of it. This is probably the most common, right? A lot of times when we take on something or we commit to something, we make that commitment and it's not in alignment, we start looking for excuses, for reasons to be able to step away from that commitment. There again, be very, very careful what you commit to, because once you make that commitment, it should be, a life and death scenario if you have to ask to be released from it. So just be very cautious and very careful. When you make a commitment, be upfront, very, very sure with yourself that it is something that you can live up to. So another way to consider, is this a commitment that I need to make? Is this something that I need to take on? Ask yourself if this is the best use of my time, talent, and energy. And you could ask yourself, what else would I be doing with that time if I don't do this? Right? It's another way to look at that perspective. If I take this project on, what else would I be doing if I don't take it on? Right? Considering the alternatives or how else you might spend that time and that energy, it's worth considering. What else would I be doing if I didn't take this on? And that's a good way to think about that, is see if that falls in line with your priorities or not. Now, once you've mentally gone through this exercise a few times, you'll get to be able to make a decision much quicker, right? You won't have to step away and really think through this in depth. It will just become more intuitive. And once you do, you can respond right away or as soon as possible. But a couple of key points that I want to leave you with on how to say no, because that's what this podcast is all about, right? Not just how to consider if it's a no, but how to say no. So let's dig into that. Number one, be clear. You don't want any confusion. Clearly deny the request. Be clear. Don't leave any room for vagueness. Don't try to dodge around you're telling them no. Just be very clear. This is not a good fit, and be upfront with that. Number two, be firm. Don't waver from the boundary that you set. Be firm with that. And a lot of times when you tell people no, they will try to talk you into it, or they will try to see why you want to tell them no, or make you change your mind. Just be firm. If it is a decision that you've made that's in alignment with your best interest, then it's okay to be firm and not waver. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't consider another perspective or revisit a situation. At times, you'll know, but I'm talking about those times when you should say no, and you do say no, and then someone talks you into it anyway, right? Don't let that happen. Number three, be kind. You don't have to be rude about it. You don't have to belittle the request or the project or be rude to the person for asking. You can certainly be kind in your refusal. And then be honest. It's okay to share, hey, this is not in alignment with my goals. This is not where I feel led by the Spirit. Or you can just say, look, my plate is full, or taking on this project would mean I'm overcommitting and something else, my family, my health, my marriage would suffer if I take this project on, right? Be honest about that. Don't try to be rude, certainly, but don't sugarcoat it either, and just be upfront, right? And last but not least, be direct. Be respectful, but let the person know that this is not for you. You don't have to justify your decision, and you don't have to even explain it. A simple but direct response is usually best. Now, if you feel led to share more information in your refusal, that's perfectly okay. But know that you don't have to justify it. I forget who said it, but it's probably a cliche you've heard at times, that no is a complete sentence, right? But a lot of times when we are turning someone down, we feel like we've got to justify or explain that refusal. And it's okay to just say, no, this is not for me. Again, you usually have a good feel, depending on your relationship with the person, and the level of commitment, again, prior experience with this person or this project or this opportunity may, you may be able to share more, and that's okay, but you don't have to. It's certainly okay to just say no. Now, this is a skill that does get easier with time. And it's a skill that gets easier as you grow and develop your character, right? I think the stronger your character is developed, the more your character is developed, the easier this skill becomes. I use the analogy in Fearfully and Wonderfully Me, Become the Woman You Are Destined to Be. In that book, I use the analogy that when your character is just, starting to develop, then it's like a little sapling or a little tree that's, just a few inches tall, and anything can push it over, anything can bend it. It doesn't take any effort for something to knock it over. But if your character is figuratively growing into a big, full, mature tree, then it's got a big trunk, it's got strong roots, it's very well grounded, and then it takes something, something much, much stronger, much, much bigger, much more force to push that tree over or knock it down, right? So I love that analogy, because we think of ourselves in terms of our character growth. The more we grow, the more we grow into that mature oak tree that is grounded and has deep roots and knows which direction it's growing in, and is able to produce fruit, then it is much easier for us to stay in alignment and say no to some opportunities that may be good opportunities, but they may not be the best opportunities for you. And last thing I want to say about that is, a lot of times if we say yes to something that is not a good fit for us, is not the best use of time for us and energy, and we take that on, and maybe we're overcommitted, or maybe it's just not in alignment with our skills and our gifts, a lot of times we are preventing somebody else who might be better equipped and better prepared. We're preventing them from taking on that opportunity because we stepped into that gap and we're not the best person to take care of that project. And yet, by doing so, not only are we compromising on our own values, we're also preventing someone else who might be gifted, who might be excited about that, and preventing them from stepping into that project or that whatever it is, that opportunity. So just think about that. Sometimes the things that we are asked to take on, or people come to us and ask us to do, are good things. They just might not be the best things for us. And that's when it's very easy that we just need to remember we're saying yes to something else, and saying yes to something else with a smile, right? We're just saying, hey, this is great. It's just not for me. So remember, life is tough, but God's grace is enough. Until next time.